Hello, everyone. It's Kenyon here, Basketball Rewind, and I'm joined by Coach Roach. Beyond the locker room, we're ready to, serve you content, I guess, about Raptors and other things. We're gonna start off today. We're gonna talk about the MLSE at Rogers and all that sort of fun stuff. We're also going to be talking about two remaining divisions before the season, or I should say, the preseason truly kicks off. And then, from there, we'll just see where the discussion goes and we'll get to a close. I will say that we were going to have a WNBA discussion, but the Ed Rogers and MLSC news is a little bit more, pushed forward because it's quite the acquisition and juicy nuggets to you know, uh, kind of nibble on, so to speak. We did have a space, so if you want to follow Coach, he usually is the one that has a space on Twitter. His stuff is in the description down below. I'm usually there. Beyond's usually there. They're usually impromptu, so nothing scheduled. And enjoy the content that is Basketball Rewind. Like, comment, subscribe on your way in, and I'll give you a reminder on the way out. So let's get to it. All right. So well, there was a purchase. There was a major
Just a
purchase.
little one.
Yeah, just some Christmas shopping by one Edward Rogers. Making a power play to basically take, push towards closer to full control. He is definitely a majority owner now of the MLSC, which is very interesting because it affects all sports franchises, not just the Raptors, but the Leafs, and the TFC, as well as things like the Argonauts and a few other of the minor league teams. So that's kind of the first thing. It was if I'm not mistaken, this is just from my memory, it was what, $3.8 billion to purchase the Bell portion, which was equivalent to the Rogers portion. So they now reign supreme on top of that organization. Yeah, I guess that's kind of a good place to start. Beyond, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on this acquisition. Sorry if I'm getting the numbers wrong, people.
Yeah, no, I think I read 3.7, but maybe when you round up, maybe it's 3.8. That's nothing matters. A lot of money when it's all said and done. Um, I think we kind of had a feeling that this was going to happen, and we had discussion. And speaking about impromptu spaces, I had one that time after the debacle what happened with the WNBA, and during that discussion, we discussed in this case what it was going on in the upstairs when it comes to MLSE because they're definitely we've seen little breadcrumbs towards this, right? The first one was the big Toronto Star article about a year ago, talking about all the stuff that happened in this case here, and obviously the fallout when Masai's contract was part of it. That was the first big shoe to drop.
Right.
Second major shoe to drop was Tannenbaum making moves in this case, saying call it a day, and then giving a certain percentage of his percentage to owners. That was the next shoe to drop. Third shoe to drop was what happened with the WNBA expansion thing for MLSE, where essentially Ed Rogers pretty much pulled the rug underneath everybody there who had already put up an RFP pretty much
At the very last
at
moment,
the
too.
very last minute. Can you imagine you're doing all this work and all of a sudden at the last second you get embarrassed like that, which they obviously led in this case here for Tannenbaum, who was already making moves to get out to go
Yep.
and go buy the team on his own with his new Kilmer or
Yep. Kilmer Group.
Kilmer Group, right? So these are all the things that are happening at the same time. Next phase of it then happens. Pelly comes in now, right? So now Pelly's now put in there. Pelly used to be a Rogers employee. Not saying it happens. I mean, let's face it, in this city here, at some point, if you're in communication of some sort, you're going to run through Rogers. That's just the fact. But he was a big, a lieutenant, let's put it that way, in the Rogers world. For him to come in there now, and he had an interesting interview, I believe, on the radio talking about the various presidents of operations for the respective teams. And when he got the Masai, it was tended to be a tad bit cool in this case here. I would say that I think it was around Canada Day weekend when that happened. I was like,
Yeah.
compared to Shanahan, who, hey man, we bosom buddies, man. It's like, hey, be good,
We
man.
used to play hockey and all this
Had
kind
a
of
few
stuff to
flops and
the.
stuff like that. Play hockey is all great,
Yeah.
And the TFC guy didn't even talk about him, and we found out why in this case here because eventually he wiped them out, and pretty much he's kind of running the operation for the soccer team. So we then lead to this moment in time here where we now get to quietly in this case here. I find it interesting it happened right before the season started for both teams that this deal happened. So there's no doubt in this case who's kind of running things before the season starts. So that I find also interesting timing. I think he's been wanting to have control over things for the longest time. I mean, and that's where it comes down to. When it comes to specifically the Raptors, I've said it before. I've said it during the WNBA space. I feel Ed Rogers, and overall, and obviously that means Rogers in general, have been actually a bit antagonistic towards basketball. That's my theory about it. That's only my opinion, folks. The gentlemen on here, they could speak for themselves, but that is my theory of the case based on all the little things I've mentioned here and some other stuff. I don't think in this case he's long. I'm not saying in this case here he's gonna get rid of the team. The team makes too much money. It's the breadwinner of the it's crown jewel of the organization from a money
Yeah.
standpoint. But it's more the cultural aspect is where I think he doesn't see things as the other groups, folks like Bell or Tannenbaum especially, and he obviously when Lewicki was here. That's where I think you're going to start seeing changes. And I'll leave that to you when it comes to our friend Masai because I'm not sure. Boy, we'll see, but I don't think Masai is long for Toronto. I'll just put it out that way.
Yeah. So, Tim, Coach, your thoughts?
I hard to disagree with anything that Beyond said. This was a move that I think was inevitable. It was coming for sure. Rogers is now, they run Toronto sports, and you know, as a Blue Jays fan, I will say in the last 10 or so years, they've been pretty good at staying as a top 10 payroll team. Now in baseball, it's a bit different. If you're a top 10 payroll in baseball, you're spending money. You're spending probably $200 million on your team, which is good for the most part. They've had some success besides this year. My hope is that they'll at least on that end continue to, in basketball case, be a above the cap team, but when you're ready to go into the luxury tax, that they'll do so when you get a team, when you're ready to go. I know we did that 5 or 6 years ago when they went into the luxury tax for the team, which was good. They spent the money when it was appropriately to do so. So I'm hoping when that time comes, hopefully in a few years, they'll do it again. I do have some concerns though about one company owning everything in Toronto. And, that could mean
Yeah.
increases in ticket prices. That could mean, but since they're a telecommunications company, does that mean increases on, your everyday bills, internet, phone, all that comes with Rogers? As Beyond said, if you're in the communications business, you're coming across Rogers at some point, especially if you're in Ontario for sure. Um, but I think I think Beyond kind of hit the nail on the head on this when he said Masai is probably not long for this team. Masai's also given us some hints in his news conferences that he said, when I'm no longer here, the Raptors will be doing well. To some degree, I'm paraphrasing. And typically, when people say that, they kind of see the end of their time coming to an end. Maybe I'm not saying it's the near future, but there's no secret about their relationship of Ed Rogers and Masai Ujiri. Everybody knows it's a frosty one, that's for sure. And that WNBA team, they could have had one, and luckily Larry Tannenbaum stepped in to say, no, you know what, they screwed up. I'll bring the team here. So I think there are some pros and cons to this, and we're just gonna have to wait and see how this all plays out.
Well, on a side note, with that WNBA team, because of that decision, he kind of forced Tannenbaum to pay extra $65 million.
Pretty much.
I have to go and build up a new practice facility and renovations on the arena they're going to use because
What's
they would just use Scotiabank in this case here before that.
what's that on the wire? You guys like to quote sometime the price of the brick just gone up or something.
Exactly. It's not today's price, boy.
Not
No.
today's price. Yes, they could have saved themselves a lot of money by bringing in a team. And look, if you bring in a professional basketball team to Toronto, a large market in North America, that's money, right? And it had been so much cheaper for them to buy it at that time versus this time. Luckily, they have one in now, and it will save them money in 5 years when price of the brick will go way up for WNBA teams.
Well, I'll get to the Masai part of it in a second, but it was short-sighted just to focus on the WNBA debacle, if we will. You talk about inventory, right? And I get it, John Bon Jovi or whoever the heck else comes in summer, right? No disrespect, okay? Man has a banner, um, and at the like he does. So, and at the same time, while that is all well and good, there's only so many concerts that I'm expecting that man to do, or a Taylor Swift or whatever. So you're just increasing, and also from a promoter standpoint, you're increasing the price that you can pay for, in terms of supply and demand and availability. It's summer. They need stuff to do leading into the seasons. It's not like we have the NFL here. We'll
Yeah,
see if that
but it's
changes in the
also the
future,
other
but
thing too, though. Like, I mean, they thought they were fool folks when, like, okay, so Barclays Center in Brooklyn, in this case here, is,
yep,
all of a sudden it's like, that they can figure it out, but you can't figure it out.
that too.
Like, like there's other arenas are getting shared in this case as well too, and they seem to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was built for basketball in terms of the actual history of the arena itself. So it made a lot of sense, but that's okay. And you know what? If they end up having to build their own or utilize their own infrastructure, it's probably for the best for them to have a more intimate setting that works for them.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, that's about 9,000 for that arena there on CNE grounds. I don't think I honestly think they're gonna go blow past that in the first
Yeah,
year.
no, no, no. That they will blow past that. But I'm still thinking like one of the things that I'm learning just from like an MLS standpoint, for example, is one of the biggest mistakes that they had was not having arenas that were built for that sport. And when they shifted towards arenas that were built for that sport and shifted the rules to match those, obviously the WNBA doesn't have to shift the rules around, but I think having something that's built for the purposes is nice, even though it's an extra expense. And in this case, it wouldn't have necessarily been needed. In this case, I think it might ended up, while
Why
being costlier, it might end up working out best for that team.
why do you think when relocation happens, Toronto's never really a relocation place for the NFL?
Well, yeah,
Have no
this,
stadium.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So I mean,
But also,
there's players that have bigger ambitions, as they say. Coach?
not to not to so much sidetrack the conversation, but do you think that's the ultimate goal with his new acquisition is to have an NFL team one day in Toronto? I see it as a potential goal, but maybe that's not the case.
Well,
One of them, but I think also like Rogers himself. I think reading some of the Toronto Life exposés about him and stuff, he tended to always be surrounding himself, yes, at work, but mainly on the sports side. That seems to be what he wants to kind of make as his crown jewel. So I think when it comes to things like us potentially go even trying to attempt to go for Shohei Ohtani, you're trying to be seen as a serious player in this North American
Hmm.
landscape. And I think that that's what it comes down to, above all. But yeah, I do think that the NFL is on
yeah.
the horizon.
Yeah, I mean, what the scary part is, and this is a bad history. I mean, Steinbrenner is a mixed bag, but like even the son in this case is a mixed bag. So when you have these trust fund babies, essentially, right? You got and Dolan's another one where it's like they come in there and it's like, hey man, I know what I'm doing, and no one's gonna tell me otherwise. That's where things get very dicey when it comes to ownership, and that's the part where to Kenyon's point, where the ego starts coming into play, right? Are you just paying for like say over say they have no business? That's always a classic one. When you have these guys, if they have someone in this case who used to love growing up or love when they used to watch their career, but everyone else knows they're past their prime, but
Yeah,
they're
it's like
willing to give
getting
them that one last
Hakeem,
contract.
the,
Bingo.
the
They're
Toronto
willing to give them
Hakeem years,
one
where it's
last
like,
contract, right? That's a classic example. And that's my concern, right? Now Shohei, it makes sense. He's in the prime of his career. But
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
thing where, yeah,
it's a bit
I'm not
different.
saying that, folks. But like you find that's the case a lot of times with these guys. They'll overpay for guys. They'll hold on to guys they shouldn't really have to be holding on to. Where it's like everyone else says, "Dude, should have made that deal a long time ago." But
It'd be
because
like
that,
LeBron coming here at age 43.
Right, yeah.
You know what
Right,
I mean? It's
right,
okay, I get it. He's LeBron, but he's
right. Like
it's
we've
getting a little
seen those type
creaky.
of things. Yeah, we've seen those things happen on different sports, respectively, all the time. And it's like, and you gotta watch that with ownership groups that have that type of profile.
Yeah.
But also too, and I heard this on Bob McCown's show. I thought it was interesting. Toronto can easily have another NHL team, easily, or somewhere in Ontario. Maybe it's Hamilton. If they could have a team in Arizona or Utah now or Atlanta for years, you can have another team in the greater Toronto area.
Yeah,
But
but
Gary Bettman's too obsessed with trying to get the Southern United States markets into
mm,
into hockey.
I don't think that's it at all. I think that with that scenario, I think the issue is that you have two teams that will do everything possible to block another team from coming here. The Sabres, who probably gets more than 50% of their actual people that come there from across the border. And then, of course, Toronto, who wants no competition whatsoever.
Yeah, I understand why they don't want competition, but they definitely could have the competition.
Of
The Rangers,
course.
the Islanders, New Jersey. What do we got? We have Tampa and Florida Panthers. We got the Los Angeles Kings, the San Jose Sharks. I can go on with
Yeah,
all
Los
the
Angeles
LA
and
teams.
Anaheim, right? Or down the street,
Anaheim.
right? But like that, but like Toronto, the Maple Leaf group has always been very nervous about putting it. I mean, if you had a record like the Maple Leafs, would you want anyone up here showing you up, after 10 years of having a team that might be actually competent?
Oh
You don't
God,
want
no.
that. Hell no. You don't want that. That's not the plan, you know?
No.
I
Exactly.
mean, this goes back to when I think Balzelli, I think his name was,
Yeah.
and when he wanted to buy a team, and they kind of stonewalled him a little bit with these type
Mm-hmm.
of things. So,
Mm-hmm.
obviously the league was in a different place back then, but yeah, I don't know where he is financially these days, but I haven't heard that train do,
You got to
you
pay
know,
about $2 billion for a hockey team probably nowadays, right? Like,
yeah, I think
Yeah.
I don't know if he has the scratch now, to even, broach that
no,
subject
it'll have
yet.
to be
Ask Ryan Reynolds right now. He's trying to get into with the Ottawa Senators team.
true. It's got to be a group, like a conglomerate like that,
Yeah.
but I don't see, I don't see the Maple Leafs moving on that one bit. And the Sabres
Yeah.
definitely don't want Team Hamilton.
Yeah. So to go to the Masai portion of this just really quickly, yeah, you guys touched on it a little bit. I will say someone, shout out to Will again, but also I am, just so the rest of the fans or people the audience who listen to this, I am reading this directly from the article. So if you have a problem with the information, go to the article writer. It ain't me. I'm just, so, okay, Coloco's this many years old. Listen, sometimes writers, I don't shoot the messenger. That's all I'm saying. But either way, what's interesting is Doug Smith was asked about this extensively, uh, in his latest, mailbag, so to speak. And I'll just read the very final couple sentences. He said, I've been told that there's been a calming of any conflicts and disagreements between Rogers and Ujiri. So that has to be a promising thing.
I know what I would. You know what I feel better. Has Grange put his article out yet?
Well, wait. He goes on and he says, this is where it gets interesting. He says, but I have said for a very long time that this is absolutely not Masai's last job, and maybe this is a way to see a clearer path to something somewhere else.
So he's hedging both ways.
So
Look,
yeah, he bet on black, but also he's hedging his bets and didn't
yeah.
go all in.
Well, yeah, but you see, to me, I haven't checked out Grange, but he's the guy. It's always the C-suite guy, and I want to hear what Grange has to say because Grange will always be the mouthpiece for the Raptors C-suite guys. And if Grange is giving a different thing than what Doug Smith is saying, then I'm like, okay, now we like a Doug Smith is more like Doug Smith has like more. Like, I think he's the guy that has more sources, in my opinion, more of like the coach level, the assistant coach level type of thing. That's more his thing. Maybe on agents and stuff like that. Maybe that might be where he has a source from. But that C-suite stuff, that's to me. I'm always looking to hear what Grange's saying because he's giving like Raptor speak. When I hear that,
Yeah, I was gonna say it's very corporate. how he outlined it, Doug Smith specifically. So, yeah, I think other than that, yeah, I mean, I have nothing else really to add about that specific topic. So we can kind of, mosey on through here and get to more of the fun stuff, which is we have two, you know, remaining divisions: the Atlantic Division and the Pacific Division. Since a lot of Raptors fans frequent this show, we are going to save the best for last for you. So we're gonna start with the West. Sorry, tricked you. No, I'm just kidding. Check in the description down below if you don't want to listen to this part. You want to skip to the East. So Pacific Division. I'm just gonna list all the teams first, then we can kind of go through them. This is the Lakers, the Clippers, the Phoenix Suns, the Kings, and the Warriors. This is another very interesting division. And if I'm not mistaken, every single one of those teams made at least the play-in, if I'm not mistaken, last year. So
Yeah.
I believe so. I don't think that they all got through the play-in, but they all made the play-in.
Mhm.
So let's start with the Clippers.
Interesting.
I'm just going in order of how they were last year.
You
Clippers
want,
made some changes.
yeah.
Paul George left the Clippers. Didn't really feel like he was respected, if you will, from a monetary standpoint. Some people might disagree. Some people may agree. But I think he has a point because he did a lot of heavy lifting while the other guy, maybe wasn't healthy throughout these years. They also lost a few other guys. They also added a few guys. I'm not going to go through all the acquisitions, but
Oh, Russell Westbrook now is the other guy now. He's gonna be a first ballot
no,
hire.
no, it's the guy that they got from the Mavs.
Oh, yeah.
It's not Najee Marshall. It's someone else, I think.
Yeah. You're talking. Yeah. Oh, jeez.
It is
Go ahead.
another. See, you can't even.
Yeah. I'm losing. Yeah.
And Westbrook was added before the end of the season, if I'm
Talk
not
about
mistaken.
Green in this case.
No, Josh Green went to the Hornets.
Hornets, yes.
Um, so yeah, I mean the Clippers right now, as I bring up their roster, um, they still have James Harden. They still have. Oh, now I remember it. It's they got Kevin Porter Jr.
Yes, that's okay. I was wondering. I knew they had him, but I didn't know there's
Full
someone else that they had.
disrespect, by the way. So with calling him an other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
And they
we the
also got
other
Kai
at time.
Jones. Yes. Um, we the other. They, yeah, they made some moves, I guess. They are going to be a worse team, in my opinion. That's just the way that I don't want to spend too much time on them. But I think that they are taking a step back. They're not, they're not going to be as top heavy as there were the previous year. And they did, get Derek Jones Jr. I think that that was a good, addition. They retained, not that he was up for contract or anything, but they retained Norman Powell. And there's some mainstays that are still going to be there. Obviously, Kawhi, if he's healthy. But at the same time, it's like, you know, you're getting to the end of you have to make a decision on Bones Highland, for example, right? You're going to have to make certain decisions on moving forward, what you're going to do with your future, and you don't control your own future because you gave up a lot of your future to the Sixers for James Harden, and then you lost Paul George to the Sixers. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Clippers. I do expect them to fall back in the standings. I still think that they're going to be a pretty solid team, though.
I
Coach,
might be the only one, but I don't even think they'll make the play-in.
damn,
I think they're going to be that. You cannot depend on Kawhi Leonard to play 60 games this year.
you can in a
Maybe
contract
not
here.
even not. Well, he just signed one, so
Besides, he's good. He got his
yeah,
money.
he could.
True.
I'm looking at the bottom of the West right now. Probably going to be Portland. Might be Utah. I don't know what the Spurs or the Rockets are going to be. I could see them being better than the Clippers, especially the Rockets. Like they're going to be anywhere from like 10 to 13. I think
Yeah.
that the Clippers. I don't see them. being a good team this year.
And the
Yeah,
other,
because if you expect growth from teams like, potentially the Rockets, definitely the Grizzlies, and, the Spurs are not going to be a pushover. We'll ignore Portland for now, just for now. But, I think Portland will also be, trying to be better.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't think that it's going to be necessarily easy for them. And then the division, we already said the teams, all those other teams are planning on trying to be good.
no, I mean, they're in a bad situation on two fronts. One is, as Coach mentioned, I had 55 games as the threshold that he had to play for them to actually be in a position to actually make a playoff spot, even as a play-in. So, I was going to give grace and give 5 games less, but 55 or 60 games, even that's hard pressed to think he could play that. And then the second problem they have is, okay, if we assume that Kawhi Leonard is going to be Kawhi Leonard, especially now he's got his money, and he's going to be taking half the time off, you pretty much are now going to hand over the keys in this case for Harden to do Harden and expect this is like, rollback time and it's going to be like 8 years ago, at 36 years old or wherever he is now. Yeah, when Harden was 27, you could get away with that.
Yeah.
Where he could carry a whole team and it didn't matter if Kawhi Leonard was showing up or not. You're asking for Harden to be this over 35 years old now? Like, that's a hard thing to do. Like, you're going to get a bunch of three-point shooters and say, here, go ahead, get a rim runner and go ahead, James. Because that's essentially what they will have to do and hope that would happen because there is no other options around them.
Yeah, and obviously I know that Westbrook is a polarizing subject at times, but I mean, you know what you're going to get with him. He gives effort and energy every single time. Honestly, in that play-in series that we had against the Bulls, I think we could have used a Westbrook. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, yeah, because what the other thing, too, is Westbrook lifts up your floor.
Yeah,
So it doesn't matter in this case if you lose Kawhi for a game or two or a couple of games, or say Paul George is out. Any given night, Westbrook can give you 20 points, 10 boards, and he can flip that switch when he needs to. And I'm just looking around here, it's like, well, who's gonna give you that production now? Because all these guys, unlike Westbrook, who could create his own shot and do things for himself, there's nobody else on that team besides Harden who could do something for themselves, really. All these guys are all secondary guys to play off of a guy like Harden or Kawhi.
yeah, and you see the pipeline starting to dry up a little bit. They
Yeah,
do have some young guys, but like again, those young guys are getting older, and they need
he's
to.
so young
They,
anymore, man.
yeah, exactly, and you need to
Eric
start
Mann,
flipping back to get some young guys through. Not saying to go rebuild. It's hard to rebuild with how they are, but they're gonna have to start looking towards the future. So that's my kind of thoughts. I think everyone, Coach, did you share on the bashing of the Clippers?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, just
got
checking. Yeah,
started.
if you want an extra punch, I'm gonna hold them up.
No, they've stolen enough from Toronto over the years. Maybe they get a little taste of their own medicine now.
Fair enough. Well, there might be a GM job in the future there. So, moving along, Phoenix. So Phoenix made some very interesting moves because of the way that the CBA is. They got Tyus Jones on the cheap. That was a really good move. I know that they made some additional moves in terms of the draft. They got a good pick, I think. I'm gonna actually just double check right now, but overall, they're coming into this season with something that they didn't have before, which was a point guard. Like they did not have a point guard. Obviously, they also added Ty Washington. I think Royce O'Neal was added before, so I'm not going to include him in that. Ryan Dunn is who they drafted, which is a good, solid project, and they have a lot of offensive players, anyways. So he's kind of in the perfect situation. As long as he can knock down corner threes, uh,
See,
you
this is
know,
where I disagree with you on that one. I think Ryan Dunn, for a guy whose offense has been pretty anemic, and a guy in this case here where he's going to be in high leverage, if he's getting rotational minutes, and based on that bench, I suspect he will. He's going to be on a lot of big time moments where it's like I can see it right now. X Twitter, wherever, just buzzing. And I wouldn't be surprised. Ryan Dunn trending in the basketball section, because in this case, he had 5 shots open and he couldn't hit one of them in a big game on a Sunday afternoon playing X team, the Lakers or the Philadelphia 76ers or whoever, and he couldn't hit a shot. And
So
my concern for the young man is that he ends up being essentially Thibault. That's what I'm concerned about. And it's like, so for a young player, if your confidence gets, if you're in that type of position, unlike if you're on a bad team, who cares? You miss a bunch of shots, you
right.
get reps up. But because Phoenix is in a position of win now, and they're a high profile team with high profile players, his mistakes or his misses are going to be like almost like tenfold versus if he was playing for like, I don't know, Washington, where or he's a second round pick for X team, that he comes off the bench as a middle of the road team that no one really worries about. Let's
So
say
he's coming in with the Nasir Little spot because they basically cut Nasir Little to get off some money. And so they stretched him. Here's the question, and I don't think Nasir Little actually got picked up. Funny enough.
yeah, he's a nice enough player. I was just thinking about myself as like,
Yes,
He's still up there, I think.
he is still out there. Um, can he become not this year, but over the next 4 years or 3 years or whatever? Can he become to that level? Because I mean, Nasir Little did have a plateauing of his development, so to speak. Obviously, part of it's just where he got traded to, the amount of playing time available to him. But is there a chance that Ryan Dunn can carve out a role, even if it's like 5 minutes to
well,
10 minutes a night? I'm
I'll
not
let Coach,
asking for a lot, by the way.
yeah, I'll let Coach yeah, that guy's a good Tar Heel boy in this case here. Well, Little had a little lot more offensive in his game in college than what we're talking about. Like Dunn starting from like a lower place.
I agree.
So he got a lot more to work in this case here. Little, I think, shot in this so far his career like 35% for three. You're asking for a lot for Dunn to get in the 30s right now in this case, based on what we saw in college.
Hey,
Now,
need I remind you, you were very high on Ryan Dunn when we first
no, I
started.
am. I know. I think no. But he's one of those guys.
I had those concerns
I
myself.
know. I like him as well too in a certain way, but he's one of those guys. He's got to be on just the right team because
What is the right team for, in your opinion?
I think, for example, if he was playing, for example, see, like our boy, we always talk about in this case, if he was Herb Jones and playing for New Orleans, right, where he have to worry about what shots. His playing guys can make shots in New Orleans. And he
Right.
can just come out there and play 10 minutes a night, do his thing, which is what happened to Herb Jones. And lo and behold, Herb Jones groomed it, turned into a guy who's a competent 3-point shooter.
But you don't think that there's enough offense in.
I don't, it's not that. It's more like, it's the old saying you see here in football, you hear it in basketball, especially in football. It's where you get placed. And playing for
Okay.
Phoenix with that magnifying glass from that ownership team and the players of what they're expecting this year,
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
that's why I call Thibault because he
Because
got
I'm just purely talking X's and O's, and I'm
right.
like,
But
that dude's
not,
going to be wide open. But from your
that's my
standpoint, yes,
point.
there's a media element to it, and there's a, like, we need to win. Why are we developing this dude when we're trying to win?
You're right, but he will be wide open. And then if he has the confidence thing and that thing starts feeling like an anvil when he starts missing shot after shot, and then you
Yeah.
end up like a Thibault situation who was on a very high marquee team too that was looking to win at the time in Philadelphia.
I guess
And
I
all of a
guess it
sudden,
comes down to like he will have chances early on to prove himself.
right.
What does he do with that?
And that's the thing, right? And if he had a team that was a weaker team or a market was smaller, he could just take his L's and no one worry about it. And if he missed, big deal. But on that team, I don't know. Coach, what do you think, man?
I have a complete opposite opinion. I don't think he couldn't have got drafted to a better team for his skill set than the Phoenix Suns. He is, some of these scouts said he has generational defense type potential. What does this team need? They don't play any
Defense.
defense. KD and Booker, they don't play any defense. Beal doesn't. Grayson Allen doesn't. Nurkic doesn't. I thought they made a terrific selection in getting Ryan Dunn. And look, he's going to be guarding some big time players this year. I would put him out there. He'd say take all that pressure off Durant and Booker on the defensive end. I'd be playing. I try to play him 20 to 25 minutes a night. The only thing they have to do with him, and Beyond touched on this, he's going to be I hope all spring, all summer, all winter. You are just shooting corner threes in practice, and that's it. You don't have to teach him how to play defense. He already knows how to do that. He's good athlete, great athlete. The offense is the question.
But right, because see, I would counter your point in saying we've seen this archetype before,
Mhm.
and in this case, it has not worked out well because as the games get bigger and the leverage gets higher, those guys get run off the court as great as they are defensively.
Yeah,
We
I
played
would be.
yeah, go ahead. No, I just say
uh,
we played a series against Philadelphia, and Thibault couldn't get past game two.
Yeah, I would be more worried about his development. I'd be more worried if he went to, oh, if he came to Toronto, I'd be more worried about his development because he's not with the right group. He's
Mhm.
with the group. He doesn't have to worry about his offense as much. He'll have to make his shots in the corner. I agree with that. But instead of him focusing on three or four things, maybe he just focuses on hit corner threes. That's going to be your job this year, basically. When Durant, Booker, and Beal drive, you're going to have to, if you want to stay on the floor, you're going to have to do that. But we also need you to guard the best wing probably on the other team. If they say he's as good defensively as what they brag him up to be, you have to play him if you're Phoenix because you got no defense otherwise.
I'll
Yeah,
just say
it's
this,
just Grayson Allen, really.
right? I just say in this case, for example, while I'm talking about Lonzo Ball, that's all I have to say.
Yeah.
How was it in Los Angeles? Wasn't pretty. You
Right.
gotta wait for the LA market and the bright lights, develop a 3-point shot in New Orleans. That's all I'm saying. It's like sometimes those things we don't think about. We just think of the numbers. Well, he can play great defense, and he will obviously get better. But there's these intangibles that start impacting things.
Okay. Here's my final counterpoint, though. They made a smart move. They had Monte Morris last year, I believe. They
I still have
added,
him.
so yes, and they added Tyus Jones. So
Yep.
they have, both a starting and a backup point guard, on the cheap too, to be honest, that, can really man things and kind of set the guys up. I think with Lonzo Ball, the challenge is that he's trying to learn how to be a point guard year one, two, in the NBA, which is a hard thing to do. And you're setting other guys up and also trying to figure out your own offense and your own development. That's a lot to put on any young player. He won't have to do that. He's just going to be spoon fed. I also agree that if he was here, because you have so many other pieces that need developing, that's a bad, 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 bad situation. Unless we made different moves and, got another point guard, or we it's a completely different situation than what we have right now.
Here's why
Um,
I hope that Tyus does in this
mm,
case. Jones does. If he could push the pace up, that would be helpful for Phoenix as well for Dunn's development because he's a very good open court guy. If he could do that, then I would, that is the best thing. But I'm not sure. You got a lot of old bones, man. They don't like moving up and down that fast.
it's true. That is true. Moving along to the Lakers now, the other LA team. We're going across the city again. So here's the thing. I see all the time people really give LeBron a lot of heck. I saw this today. I saw it in the past. I saw it through the Olympics. And this is what I'm going to say. And maybe people are going to not want to watch this because they think I love LeBron. It ain't about that. The guy is 40 years old. He's not supposed to be leading the team. Okay? I'm sorry. If you have a problem with JJ Redick or whatever, sure. He's not supposed to be leading the team. Can someone else on that dang team step up? That's it. People are like, oh, he got 80. Well, where was the AD? AD shrinks at times during the moment down the stretch. AD doesn't like to play center, has to be forced to play center, which is his optimal position. Like at this point in both of their careers, it's like the Kawhi thing, in the sense that AD's always hurt. So you're gonna put that on a 40-year-old guy and say, oh well, see, he gets everything he wants. He's 40 years old. I what are we doing? So I think that the Lakers will be pretty solid. I think as a unit overall, I think they also are hungry enough to make the moves that they want to make. They did make an addition, which is Koloko. Uh, you know, um, and they also got really lucky with that draft pick. Shout out to Reese, his man that he really wanted here, Dalton. Ended up that's a really nice piece to have, develop through their system, especially around those guys. That's a guy. I'm going to make the same argument, except that he has the offense, as I did with Ryan Dunn. He doesn't have the defense, so that's a challenge. But he has the offense, and all he has to do, although I think he can do a little bit more than hit movement threes in this case, I won't just say standstill threes, is just be him. Be ready, get the open shot, and do what you do best. You've been training all this time, Mr. Dalton. Do what you do best.
Yeah,
Beyond, I'm going to go to you because
I think the Lakers
yeah,
win this division. Like, I mean, I don't know if any divisions matter anymore, but if we tell you who's gonna have the best record amongst these guys, the Lakers are gonna have it.
this
In my
division, yeah, I think so, yeah.
And I think also too, I think the Lakers are gonna have a pretty good year. And I think another thing too is on a side note to your point, there's always talk about, oh, LeBron gets what he wants. This is the first coach LeBron actually requested they actually gave him. Okay,
Yeah, I
folks,
mean, he
in
didn't ask for
LA,
Blatt.
he
Let's
didn't
keep
ask
the
for,
buck.
well, he was going to get to LA, right? He didn't ask for Walton, that's for sure. He didn't ask for, in this case here, Vogel. He didn't ask for
No.
Darvin Ham. So this idea he getting all he wants, like, really? It's like this is like the first season where they actually kind of gave him what he wants. He got his kid on the team and he got the coach that he wanted. So
Mhm.
it's on LeBron to see make it work. And LeBron's gonna do LeBron stuff. Now, as far as Anthony Davis goes, that's the question in my mind. How many minutes does Anthony Davis play at center? Because once Koloko gets healthy, I want to see how those, they're going to start moving AD to four. AD starts floating out there. That's the question I want to see. Because I'm curious to see AD, because let's face it, the reason why Ham's gone is not because of LeBron, folks. The reason why
Right.
Ham is gone is due to Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
That's why this dude's gone.
Because he
Okay?
didn't want to play center, and he kept
He
forcing
didn't
the
want to
dude to
pay
play
his brother
center.
about it. The man came out in a playoff series and said, like, we don't know what the hell we're doing, essentially.
I
Okay?
also, I just gotta say, like, Raptors fans gotta stop it, like with the Coloco stuff. I heard someone say that, oh well, Jackson Hayes. You don't watch Jackson Hayes, okay? I'm sorry. Just stop. You're telling me Christian Wood? Someone said Christian Wood can play better defense than Coloco. Have you not seen Christian Wood?
Clearly
Uh,
not.
No. Start watching actual basketball.
I
And it's not just Raptors fans. If you watch the NBA, don't just watch your team. Watch other teams. Okay. I had, someone say, "Oh, you can't give people flack." No, I'm going to give you flack. You should, if you are a basketball fan, watch basketball. It's really, if you're saying Christian Wood, it's like there's a reason why Christian Wood is like almost out of the league, and why he literally at one point you're looking like people were suggesting that we trade for him, and actually, my friend, my best friend worked with Luca directly. And I remember him saying, "Oh, I'm so excited because the Mavs got Christian Wood." I started laughing. We did beyond you and I didn't talk then. I just started laughing. I'm like, I don't know about that one, man.
I took it as like, what is, it's a risk that, I was willing to take as far as like just having some punch in the front court, but I knew
Yeah,
what I was dealing with. That risk was like high risk, high reward, high risk, high reward, and it'll end up being high risk, which is always the case with Christian Wood at this point, as you mentioned. So like,
I mean, he at one point he was on what 6 teams in 7 years or something like that.
I mean, I wish
There's a reason. The dude left. He left a physical basketball game that he was paid to be there in the middle of the game. Got in his car, drove home. Okay, for no reason, but because he had an argument with his coach.
but
Okay,
let's face it,
like what?
this has
You're
nothing to do
paid
with
millions of
Christian
dollars
Wood.
to sit in your seat.
This has nothing to do with Wood. This has to do in this case here, some of these guys catching feelings that all of a sudden now they now have to twist their head in some crazy way because now Kolok's no longer a Raptor. I must find some way to either devalue him as a player because he's no longer on my team, or therefore I must try to make him the sworn enemy as if he's done something towards the Raptors.
This is a players first podcast, by the way.
Yeah,
If
the
you
Raptors
didn't
cut
figure it
the
out.
dude essentially. What do you want now? He's open for the season for whoever he wants to play for.
Yeah. They
Right.
waived him. That's the thing. People were saying, "Well, he made a mistake leaving he didn't leave the Raptors. They
Well, we
waived
get
him."
the East. We'll deal with the Raptors and how they about what the mistakes
Yeah,
that look.
well,
So yeah,
we'll get to that in a
so
second,
I've said my piece with the Lakers.
Coach.
It's interesting. You said this is the first coach LeBron's wanted that he's got it. Danny Hurley would have been the coach had he not declined the job.
But you know what's funny? I'm not saying names right now. But there's someone that I've been talking to back and forth about this, and they think that was not real. They think that was just put out in the media just for fun. And I'm like,
No, it was
no,
real.
I think that was real. He literally, Danny Hurley said that he talked to LeBron. They just didn't want to pony up the money.
Got an offer, and he said, like, let's put it this way: Danny Hurley was pretty much giving a poison pill. That's what it was. Not Danny Hurley. I think his brother.
Oh, Bobby Hurley.
Bob, yeah,
Mm.
Bob Hurley. Yeah, no, you're right, Danny Hurley. Hurley was pretty much giving them a poison pill. Because I think Hurley didn't really want to coach the team. I think
No.
he was to coach LeBron, but I think he really didn't want to. But he didn't want to be disrespectful because he wanted to make sure that when the time comes, he wants to come to the NBA. He didn't want to look like he was like, oh, he's a diva in this case here. So he put it there to say, well, yeah, if you give me X amount of money in this case here, I'll bring my family across the country in this case to do so.
Yeah, because he
But
wants to make sure that it's not. He doesn't just want to come, but he wants to make sure that it's a secure job too.
yeah, exactly, right. And based on the Lakers experience, pre-LeBron too, guys, they don't really keep coaches around for long.
No,
Okay, so
since
now if LeBron
Phil
No,
gone.
since Phil, it's been rough.
Yeah. How many coaches
I
did
mean,
Kobe have after Phil?
pre-Phil, it was rough.
That's true.
yeah.
At Della Harris, how it's working out for him right now.
I mean, hey, even the Magic years.
I'm saying. Yeah. How you doing, Dell? I see you, man. Give me a little love today, man. Kids at home, go Google them.
He's in Space Jam for a bit. But yeah, no, I mean it's a coaching carousel in LA constantly because it's not just LeBron, it's this aura of the Lakers. Like this is win or bust. We don't win championships, we're no good. And
You
that's
meant to
really
do
hard
that
on
pun just now,
coaches.
Coach?
What's that?
You meant to do that pun?
What pun? The win or
The
bust?
bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought it was on
oh
purpose
man.
as well. So
No, no, no. Didn't even see it. Um, but yeah, no, and coaches talk.
Yep.
When you go to LA, oh yeah, son, that's why they always ask for 4 or 5 years because they know within two they might be gone. And that's like Beyond said, it's not even a LeBron thing. It's been that way for when Kobe was there too, with D'Antoni and Byron Scott, Mike Brown. Like the list goes on and
I
on and
forgot
on.
D'Antoni went there.
You forgot in this case, Magic Johnson coached the team for like 15 games at one point.
Rudy Tomjanovich was there for about
I'm
13
good.
games.
And then you got
Raptors.
Pat
promotion a few
Riley.
years. Right, you got promotion a few years later. Like they did this after the Riley years too, guys. It
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
it was like this is the Lakers.
Mike Dunleavy at that old Mike senior at the time, he took over after Riley, and it was just and he led that team to the finals against
Yeah,
MJ. They just
yeah.
They
lost.
they also run that team like a bomb and pop shop. That's
He's a
why they go through
Yeah,
so many coaches because they're so cheap with the coaches. That's the real answer.
yeah,
mhm.
yeah. To my point with the Lakers, though, I can see them being a top 8 team in the West. I can't put a number. I can't say they're going to be like a top 3 or 4. I just see better teams ahead of them, and that's just because LeBron and AD. LeBron's 40, like you said. It's amazing he plays at the level that he's been at for years now at the age of 40. Nobody has ever done this before.
Mhm.
AD, we just don't know. Like, sure, AD's one of the top 5 talents in the league when
When
he's
healthy.
healthy
Yeah.
and when he is motivated. I could say, I'm not saying he's not motivated, but you kind of can tell, like, when he's playing well, he plays real well both ends of the floor. But I don't think they did enough this offseason to again help LeBron and AD. If it is about championships, this isn't a championship team. And they made one move, I think, this year. And it was just drafting or signing Koloko recently. Now, the guy who our friend Mouth of the North likes, as I agree, just like Ryan Dunn, I think he went to a great place where he's going to get looks. He's going to get lots of opportunities to spot up and shoot threes and score. And it'll be interesting to see how he does this year in LA because I think it's going to get some time. But
Yeah,
LA's bringing back much of their same group that they had last year, and this could be it for LA too because you don't know about LeBron's future. He might retire after this year.
Nah, he's gonna wait till Bryson's in the league.
just like his coach in this case, the question with Connect is when it gets
Hmm.
to playoff time, can you keep him on the court? That was the question with JJ. And
That is the question, but JJ seems apparently this is what I've heard in the ethos is that JJ seems to have plans for both for Austin Reeves as well as Connect. He seems to really like Connect. So
Reeves is not a question. Reeves is a two-way player.
yeah,
Reeves can do
yes.
that. That's not a question
But
about
I'm
Reeves.
just saying he seems to also have plans for Connect. The real question that it comes down to it, and this is why I wasn't high on the Raptors drafting Connect, um, is not because he doesn't have the offensive talent, but because he's not a two-way player, and some teams are in more dire need of two-way play than others. I think the Lakers have enough high-level guys on the defensive end who also are able to give on the offensive end that they can, it's not as much
And
of a priority.
And I think also to help him in this league too, if he has like a high end point guard to help him facilitate for him,
That
because
too.
so they like I'm not sure if we got point guards at that level. Let's put it that way.
They also
I
have
know.
they're also not in the second apron. I'll say that, so they can make moves. Sorry, coach.
No, I'm not worried about LeBron or AD when it gets down to crunch time or when they get if they do make the playoffs. It's going to be Rui Hachimura. It's going to be Austin Reeves. It might be the development of Jalen Hood-Schifino and Gabe Vincent, who didn't even play last year, and Jarrett Vanderbilt. It's going to be those guys. What kind of leap do they take? Because you need more than just two in this NBA. As
They,
good as they are, you still
yeah.
need more.
The Lakers actually, I kind of disagree with folks. I don't think the Lakers are that far off. What the Lakers need is like not necessarily a star player, but a guy in this case here that consistently gives them 15 to 18 points a night. You know, on any given night when the other guys aren't doing it, he can give you 25 that night, right? But you might have to pair up a couple of guys you mentioned to get that guy, right? Now they thought it was Reeves. I don't know if it's actually Reeves. The Reeves can average that for sure. You'll average that. But I mean, Reeves, I don't think is consistent enough that if that night comes where you need a third guy, I'm not sure I could feel that Reeves could flip the switch and say, okay, I'm going to give it to you. Because he's the guy.
Excuse me. Oh, sorry, my apologies.
Yeah, no, Reeves is the guy. Like, if I'm not sure if there's any more of a jump he can make, so we'll see.
I mean, he's not.
I meant to say
Yeah.
D'Angelo Russell. I forget he's on the team. That's just wanted to say
That's why
that
I
too.
didn't mention his name.
Yes. So, but D'Angelo Russell has the challenge of not being a two-way player.
Yeah.
So there's good and bad. I think that they use his contract to try to flip him.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. But well, I mean, we will see. Coach, just to cap off the Lakers, do you see them as winning this division?
I wouldn't be shocked if they did. I'm not going to say an absolute no. It's once again, this division is really hard to tell. We still have another team in this division, do we not?
We have two more.
Yeah, let's see.
We have two more, so we're going to go through those two real quick. But I'll just say really quickly, just to focus, to cap off the Lakers and the division talk. I would just offer up, say, I think the Phoenix will win the division, just because I think Tyus Jones and having a real point guard helps them out a lot. And it also helps them
Yeah.
they have enough firepower to kind of mix and match throughout the season to kind of get there. I didn't feel the same way last season. And in terms of the overall conference, I have no idea. I don't think that they're a top four team. But I think that they have higher aspirations than the regular season ranking anyway. So, okay, Sacramento Kings and the Warriors. We'll kind of talk about SoCal together. So,
Okay, in this case, yeah.
or yes, sorry, my bad. Northern Cali. You're
Governor's
right.
Mansion.
Yes, yes. So the Kings, they added DeMar. I think in the draft they also added Devin Carter, who I really, really liked. He will not be starting the season. I don't even know if he plays this season because he had an injury, of course. But I don't think that matters. I will say this though, as it pertains to the Raptors, which we may get to later. We'll see. This has gone a little longer than I originally thought. But the thing about Devin Carter, which is interesting to me, is this. It tells me how they felt about their point guard rotation after Fox,
You think?
right? Davion Mitchell was essentially buried in that rotation. He was a higher pick than Keon Ellis and got outplayed by Keon Ellis on that team. They were looking for a guy. First of all, I think that they're forward thinking and thinking, hey, you know what? Yes, Fox is here, but we need to make sure that just in case he decides to go, we have someone upcoming because his contract is coming to an end fairly soon as well. Just so people are aware.
Yeah, no, yeah. My apologies, folks, just now. They played 18 holes just now, so I'm feeling it a little bit. Oh, here's the thing. What Kenyon said was very interesting, by the way. So I would put it this way.
Okay, that's good as not.
Yeah.
Like, wrap it up, man.
Yeah, yeah. 18's hitting me right about now.
Let's get to this Raptors talk.
So I'll just say this quickly. They pretty much have given up on playing defense. That's what they're saying. We're just going to try to outscore everyone and slog you to death with offense.
For this year.
Yeah. And the DeRozan deal just says it all. That's it.
Yeah.
We're going to try to score 145 points, and you're going to try to stop us if you can. That's it. We'll see if it works out. I don't think so, but hey, you never know.
Yes, I think Devin Carter is going to, in the future, when he does play, I think he's going to be a really great addition, and I think he will be really liked in that city. Two-way player. Dad was a player as well. Played for the Raptors actually. Uh, um, listen, like I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for DeMar as well. I hope he has a good season. But at the end of the day, like you said, offensive will, what is the saying? Defense wins championships. So yeah. Um, before I go to Golden State, Coach, your thoughts on the Kings?
Yeah, they're not going to play any defense this year. They didn't do enough this offseason to make me say, boy, they're going to challenge for a top 3 or 4 seed in the West. They're a problem, quite frankly. It's not Sabonis, but he's an undersized center, and that will only get you so far, especially in the West. They're going to have to try and score 150 points a night. Funny thing is, they do have an offense that can do that, and DeMar will close for them this year. So I expect the Kings to be maybe somewhere in the top 8.
True, true. So yeah, I guess we got to go to the Warriors. And so the Warriors is they lost Clay. Like simply put.
This is a very simple one for me, man. It comes down to two things: how much can they keep Curry upright? Because I'm not sure. I'm not wishing for anything to happen to him, but based on the Olympics and then him being the age he is, and now having a more of a heavier load with no Clay, like it's smelling. It could get dicey real fast in the Bay Area, and then also Kaminga. Does Kaminga
Yep.
finally take the jump, and he's like also like a 21 point
Yeah.
per year?
To
That's
me, it's
it.
about Kaminga.
Yeah.
Coach, I'll let you go first before I give my thoughts about the Warriors.
Yeah, it's about what Beyond had just said. How healthy is Steph Curry going to be? I think he's 36 years old. Hard to play as many minutes as he's used to. With Clay gone, there's going to be a kind of a loss of chemistry offensively, I think, for a while. Buddy Hield's a decent pickup for them, but it's all about Kaminga and Podzinski and Beyond's guy, Trace Jackson Davis. Their development's going to be huge for this team. So again, with Golden State, it's hard to tell how good they'll be.
Yeah, I'll also add that they made the addition of DeAnthony Melton as well, which is pretty solid. So they added some vets. To replace Clay, they added Buddy Hield, and that's where my issue is with them is that they can't afford with how much they are aging as a team to not have someone who is a essentially going to be heavily relied upon and yet not be a two-way player. Now, if Wiggins, I don't know how they figure out that starting lineup. If it's, Curry, Healed.
No, Hield's not starting.
So Heald's coming off the bench.
Yeah, Hield's coming off the bench.
So it's Curry, Wiggins. Also, they added Cal Anderson. I forgot about
Yeah,
that
the
as well.
Curry, Kaminga, Wiggins, Green, and then
And
uh and I guess insert center.
yeah,
Lillard.
that's the. Do they
Is,
need a center? Just kidding.
uh, is Looney still there or not? I can't remember. Looney's
Looney's
I think
still
he's still
there,
there.
but like
still
Looney,
sorry.
that's a lot. That's a lot of stuff to put on his body.
Yeah,
Trace
Looney.
Jackson Davis is going to get some time this year.
That's what I'm saying. He's been getting a lot of time, and they're going to split those minutes between the two of them as their center.
Yes. Yeah. So
Yeah,
we'll see what happens with them. I think that they will be a middling team, but in the West.
I don't
They,
think they can play it.
yeah. So when I say middling, I mean like how the Raptors are mid.
Oh, that's a okay. You're kind. Okay, yeah,
Like we're talking like maybe the 10th seed in the West if they're lucky.
that's what they were last year. I think they
Yeah.
got Steve now this year.
Yeah. Basically. Yeah.
All right.
Um. Yeah, I mean like you said. You said all of the right things. It comes down to Curry. I know a lot of people are super hyped on Moses Moody, but I mean, and even Podzinski. I think that they're fine players. It's just like I also see a ceiling with those players, and like there's levels to this. So
Exactly.
you
They're
know,
dudes.
it's one thing to be a nice player, but like they don't need a nice player. There's a reason why they were going for like a Lowry Markkanen. Why you still hear rumors of them potentially, although I don't know if it's the right player, but them going for Brandon Ingram, for example.
Mm.
They're trying to extend Curry's tail end of his career, essentially,
Mhm.
and we'll see if they can do that. Okay. So with that being said, do you guys want to take? Do you guys want to roll on through, or do you want to save the Atlantic Division? Sorry, folks. For next week. It's up to you guys.
I'm straight. I'm good. I don't know. You tell me, coach.
I'm just thinking of the 18 holes. That's all.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm okay. It doesn't matter to me, so I'm good to go. But if not, I'm cool with that as well.
All right, well, let's roll on through, people. Okay, so here we go. The Celtics. Okay, so if Raptors fans, if you didn't know who's in the division, now you know. So the Celtics, the Knicks, the Philadelphia 76ers, Brooklyn Nets, and yours truly, the Raptors. Okay, we're gonna start with the Boston Celtics, defending champions. They're losing Al Horford. That's about it. They're a good they're a good team. I don't know what else to say. They're going to start the season with KP being out, but I don't think that they need KP to make the playoffs and make it as like a number 1 or 2 seed. I think that they're such a well-balanced team that at this point it's the race in the East is who's going for second place, at least in terms of the regular season.
You think so?
I think so.
That front line's a little thin.
It's KP. Who is out? They don't have Robert Williams anymore.
No, that front, it's Cornette, and I can't remember who else they got out there off top of my head.
Horford retired.
Right. They haven't really filled the Horford spot yet.
True.
Like that's a thinnish kind of front line. His health is always an issue, and we're starting off the year already with it. So like
that's still my. I mean, I don't know because they're a second apron team, I think, but like that's my Boucher deal.
Well, yeah, it's sitting right there, but like they need because they need another front court player. I think they'll get by enough in the regular season, but like even if they unless they fill that spot, that Horford spot, they could be had in this case. That front court is a little dicey.
Well, I mean, I'm more focusing on
the division though, with the division,
the division as well as like overall in the, the regular season seedings.
Yeah, the regular season.
And that's why I'm like for regular season they're number one. I don't see, but to your point, yeah, they need to make a move, a minor move. Yeah, this is why I think that, Mr. Rucker was talking about potentially, how a certain Canadian Zach would have been an interesting fit with them at the end of if he ended up going there, and he did not.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, that's my only thing with them right now. It's just that front court. But overall, they'll win plenty of games. They might win close to 60 again this season.
Yeah.
So they just have enough talent to do so. I don't know what else to say.
It's a deep team, man.
They got the maniac coach in this case. He's drive them to win 60 again. It's not like he's gonna be pulling back the reins. It's not his style.
No, Coach, your thoughts on Celtics?
Well, yeah, no, the front court's going to be interesting this year. If Porzingis is not starting off the season, I know he'll be back, but with Horford gone, and it gets a little thin on that front court for him. Tatum will be Tatum. Brown will be Brown. Drew Holiday he'll be him as well. Like I'm not worried about them at the guard spot, the forward spot. Derek White forgot about him. Like they have some good guards and forwards. It's going to be the bigs that you have to be concerned about. But I do see them likely finishing first in the Eastern Conference, assuming Porzingis is back in a decent amount of time.
Okay, Celtics are done.
One thing I would say to throw out here is one thing to concern yourself about is the Olympic fiasco. That's the one thing you'll find out real soon if there's something there with that.
That's true. That's true.
Watch that space. That's all I have to say.
But I will say this, that there's usually also a bump, so the other guy might get a bump as well.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, I mean, we've seen Olympic situations get out of control in the past, and a lot of hard feelings start coming out. So,
I mean, Jaylen Brown is someone who speaks his mind. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
But finals MVP, he should be.
Yeah.
Yes. Although I will say this, they did pay the man.
Oh no, it's nothing to do with the payment. It's the
I know, but I'm just there's different forms of respect. But I'm saying at least they showed him the respect in that way.
I just fall in the Creole by the locks, man. Money, power, respect.
Yes, yes. And it's also not Joe Mazzulla who made that decision.
No, I'm not saying it is.
Which is good. That's good.
Saying, yeah, that's good that way too. But like, I've seen it play out real strange in the past. That's all I gotta
True.
say when these things come up.
The Knicks. Coach, I'm going to start reverse rotation.
The New York Knicks will be, in my opinion, the second best team in the East this year. And you're talking to someone who does not like the New York Knicks. You
I think
have to
we just
win in
earned
this
another
league.
subscriber.
Yeah. You have to win in this league with two-way wing players. They get a bunch of them now. With OG, Mikal Bridges, Randall's coming back. I suspect he'll be healthy, along with Brunson. They could probably make another move during the mid-season if they need to. I think they see their championship window is now. They do have to add another big. Mitchell Robinson's not going to be enough, assuming that he's healthy. And there's no other backup big unless it's Precious Achua.
You
That's
said
my little bit of concern, but they have enough two-way wings and guard play, and they have a number one option. I consider Randall a number one option on that team, along with Brunson. I think they have enough to be number two in the East with their defense.
it's literally the same discussion we have with Boston, except for the Olympic stuff. Like serious same weaknesses,
Hmm.
the same elements in this case when it comes to like, they have a ton of two-way wings and stuff like that too. Um, but my thing with New York is that I just, the front court scares me, and also too how they share out the minutes. That's the other thing. And a lot of guys used to play 30 plus minutes a game. And I don't know with Tibbs, once he gets into a rotation, man, you could be on the outs real quick. So that's another thing to watch carefully, especially with that Nova crew. We're going to get minutes already. That means there's less minutes for the guys that are not part of the Nova crew. Watch out. so that so OG, you in danger, my friend. You in danger. That's all I got to say.
Oh, he plays 55 games this year. Consider it a success for Tibbs.
Yeah, the only reason they play 55 games is only playing about 15, 20 minutes, is my point.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, right? Like, I'm just looking at the rotation. I
Yeah,
can easily see
you can
Tibbs.
basically keep his minutes down
Yeah.
and keep him healthy for what matters because
Yeah.
you have Mikhail. Because like that's you're not going to be playing Mikhail Bridges, OG, um, and Josh Hart all together, and then have what like Precious Achua or like or as a center. I do think
Well,
Randall deserves a lot of shine. His importance on this team. I know a lot of people think that he's going to be, um, you know that he's not as valuable as perhaps he is, but I think he is. They also added Pacome, by the way, Tyler
He
Kolek.
did.
So I really liked Tyler Kolek as a guard. So shout out to him.
well,
Yep.
one thing though, will Randall play center? We haven't considered that possibility.
Well, so that's what I was going to get to is that I think Mitchell Robinson's minutes are very, very crucial there because is he going to, as you said, is he going to be actually healthy? I think Randall ends up playing some time at center. I don't know how much time. He has the body for it, even though he's like a little bit shorter in stature, but I think he has the skill for it to do it. It's not an ideal situation. I think if there there's a deal out there for Randall for a center, but it has to be the right center. It can't be it cannot be a Pirtle, right? Like they because they did lose Hartenstein, and they need
I would move one of those Nova boys off in this case to get my
that's
center.
not going to happen. That's not going to happen. We
Well,
know that that's not going to happen.
they got no chance to win a championship then, but we'll keep it. We'll leave it there for now.
I'll let you fight that battle at home.
Exactly right. Oh, trust me. I believe me. He's on
Yes.
my side in this case here on that front.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think that the thing is that Randall's underrated. Um,
Oh, I'm not saying moving
And
Randall. I'm
no,
saying
no,
get
yeah, I'm just saying like for people who are focusing on the moving of Randall type of thing, like Randall's underrated, and then it's like also to like where are you getting an upgrade offensively from that? Because anything else is going to cramp the space, and like they're not going to have the same gravity or passing ability that Randall is more than likely. That we've talked about one offline, we don't have to talk about it here, but that's really the only move that I kind of see that kind of makes sense for them, and it's only because there's enough other pieces around, and I don't think even that there's not really an easy move for them to like make that next move, but they need to
Well,
find something. Yep.
I would be watching that guard rotation this year. Miles McBride was their backup. They just brought in Tyler Kolek. whoever is competing well with that, there's going to be some trade value. It's probably going to be McBride because he makes more money to sign that contract.
True.
So it's not wouldn't shock me they could get their center that way because teams are always, if you have too many bigs up front and you need a guard, that's certainly possible. I don't see them doing that, but they're going to need a big somehow. And they're not like Beyond said. I don't think they're giving up any of those Villanova guys.
And just on a side note here, folks, this is the reason why Coloco had so many suitors.
Would
Look what the
John
contract.
Collins be a good suitor for them?
Poor man's Randall.
Right. So then the next person might be the other person in Utah, but I don't know if they even have the draft equity to trade for him, which is Kessler.
He would be ideal.
Yeah, I'd be looking at Kessler.
Yeah.
But
Moving along, we'll go to Philly. They made an addition,
oh boy. Oh,
Paul George.
go ahead,
Um,
Cole.
yeah,
Oh, the 76ers. Um, I've seen enough of them over the last few years. Paul George is a big addition to them. There's no question. I love Jarrett McCain. They drafted him. You guys know that I was a big fan of his game this year. But it all comes down to Joel Embiid's health at the end of the day. And every year it's the same thing. He gets hurt once or twice during the season. He gets hurt in the playoffs, and then you're done. I can see Philadelphia at best being a number 2 seed. I think they're going to be 3 or 4 seed, probably in the East this year. Paul George is he's 30, he's going to be 35 this year, so he's not like he's 28 anymore. And he's still a pretty good player, but I just don't know still have enough to get to a championship this year. So again, it's going to come down to Embiid's health. Clearly, if he's healthy, if you have a somewhat 95% healthy Joel Embiid, you're going to have a chance if you're Philadelphia. But that doesn't happen. That's the problem. So I have them, at best making the conference finals, but it's likely going to be a second round exit again for him.
I'll just say this. We saw this tension when Harden was playing there, where Harden would pretty much start running his own stuff. And now with Nick Nurse, who is a guy that loves his ISO,
Hmm.
if Paul George starts to come out the gate cooking, the tension between him and Embiid on how that offense is run. See, because Maxey plays like well in the sandbox. Maxey's
yeah, he
running
does.
around and does stuff like that. And baby due to his age, he's gonna be kind of like playing second fiddle automatically. Paul George got a bit of a resume. Paul George ain't sitting around here waiting around here so he can spot from three in the corner. That ain't gonna be happening. So if Paul George comes out cooking, and we know Nick Nurse in this case with wings already, that he's enjoyed that. Go and cook, fellas. Be it Pascal or of course Kawhi, go cook. We might see a lot of MB just shooting jump shots from the corner here when they have a double off of Paul George, and it'd be fascinating to see how this plays out. So I'm looking forward to it. I think overall Philadelphia have a good year. I think they too could use another big. It seems to be a recurring theme. But overall,
Yeah,
I think that's literally
true.
it's a thing. Stamp same issue, but they have an element where be it the same thing. I think we have 1-2 options in all three of these teams where it's like there's going to be an interesting dynamic playing out. Be it Brown and Tatum, Randall and Brunson, and here with George and B.
They also added Caleb Martin, I should say. I forgot to mention that, and Jared
Yeah.
McCain.
Yeah, I like their wings and
Yeah,
stuff like that. They're going to be all right in that sense. I wouldn't be surprised if you told me Philadelphia, even with injuries that you expect for Embiid, they end up being a top seed.
yeah. I like Jared McCain, by the way. I think he's going to have a great rookie season, especially under Nick Nurse for sure. He'll have, Nurse likes his point guards, and I think he's good enough to crack that rotation because Lowry's getting a little bit older here. Just, let's just put it out there. Lowry will play, but like Lowry is going to have days where he's going to need to put Tiger Bomb on the knees, right? So I'll just leave it at that. But they're gonna have a good season. I agree with you guys. Playoffs, we'll get to playoffs when we get to playoffs.
Mhm.
You know,
They're a
but
little
for
small at the guard spot. Lowry under 6'1", Jarrett McCain 6'1", Maxey's about 6'1", six
Yeah.
two, Reggie Jackson 6'2". They're gonna be a little small at the guard spot. See, I like having teams that you have at least one guy who's over 6'4", even as a backup point guard. You need that switch every once in a while, especially defensively. That's a bit of a concern that I have for them as well.
True. True. We'll just go right to Brooklyn. Brooklyn.
What to say?
Yeah, well, yeah, not really. I mean, I just agree with you guys, large part, and it just comes down to injuries. Brooklyn is Brooklyn. Does Ben Simmons play 10 games or 15 games for them, do you think?
I think he plays less than 20.
They're also going for the flag? Okay, gotcha.
You don't. They're going to be steering the ship for the flag, or should I say, this is the Titanic division, right? The Atlantic division.
It used to be called, yeah. This
Yeah.
year
So
seems like the
hey, makes
gauntlet.
sense. Titanic.
The conference now.
Yeah, the Titanic sunk like 100 miles out from where I grew up. So Atlantic makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, well, hey, I mean, yeah, best of luck. I know I heard a few Raptors fans really like Cam Thomas for some reason. Um, cool. That's all I gotta say. More power to you, Dennis Schroeder. Take commander. Best of luck. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, they're in sell-off mode. Nick Claxton's obviously there. We'll see how healthy he is. I know people really like him as well, but as I say to people, and just from a Raptors focus to kind of shift into the next topic, because I don't think you guys have much to add for Brooklyn. Um,
Well, I'll just say
mm,
I think they're going to be the worst team in the East this year.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Jordy, you're a good coach. Do what you can. Uh, that's all I'll say. But it's the right time to be a coach because he gets to shape that roster as he sees fit and as he wants, which is good. So yeah, let's just get into it. The Raptors. I don't think that the last two teams have any chance at winning the division, so I'll say that. um, you
And
know,
not earth shattering.
yeah, I'm sure that someone will take umbrage somewhere. Have at her. Um, leave a comment down below. It's welcome. Uh, but yeah, I just I think for the Raptors, we saw I kind of skipped over the Sacramento move from a Sacramento side of things a little bit. Um, they did a little bit of, let's call, financial cleanup, and they're still doing financial cleanup. And that's kind of where the Raptors are right now, is we're still cleaning up financially a couple little loose ends. So, for example, I will get to the looming person in the corner who has a bum knee right now. But before I get to that, we did retain a lot of people. So we retained Kelly Olynyk. We said goodbye to Trent, and we reintroduced ourselves to Mr. Bruce Brown, uh, who has not exited stage left, much to the chagrin of many Raptors fans. Um, I think that this year is going to be fascinating. I'm so excited to watch this season. I mean that not facetiously at all, actually. I think it's going to be quite an entertaining season for me personally. Beyond, I'll go to you.
I can't wait, man. I got my popcorn ready to go. I can't wait for this season.
Oh man,
Yeah, I can't wait, man.
buckle up.
Finally, questions will be answered, like the caramel secret. We'll finally find out in this case here a whole bunch of things this year. And I
Find
can't
out what all 13 herbs and spices are.
exactly, pretty much.
uh,
I think it's great. I mean, like this team's gonna be one of the worst teams in the league, in my opinion. That's not necessarily a bad thing. This is where coach you insert, waving the Canadian flag in this case here at this point. There we go. All right. So I don't care about how much wins we get. I mean, like I'm not looking at the season and think like, oh my gosh, like we lost 2 games this week and we're now 4 games back from, so I'm not viewing the season that way.
Yeah.
To your point, I'm just viewing the season on just development on certain players, obviously the young players, and quite and curious to see if this coach actually can actually show up to be actually a professional NBA coach this year. I
And
am see
Bruce
that.
Brown being out before coach goes, I'll say this: Bruce Brown being out opens up minutes for young guys, and you want development. At the end of the day, if we're gonna be a serious team again, what we need to do is we need to develop those guys. That might come at the cost of wins, but that's what you need to do now, so that when you make that move that everyone has somehow in their mind as a move that they want to make for some reason this year, but let's say you if that move is going to come at some point in the future, you need those young guys to either put into a trade to trade for said hypothetical person. I have no idea who that is right now. Or you are going to need to have a team that is good enough to entice someone to come here. That's really what it comes down to. And right now, we have a lot of work to do. There will be some say post Olympic shine that is on RJ, because when guys go to the Olympics, they come off those Olympic runs, they come into training camp, in shape, especially the year that he had, with his family and all that. It's been tough, but yeah, I think he sees basketball as a sanctuary ultimately, and I think that he's going to be ready to rock and roll. I think he's going to have a good season. I think Scotty's going to have a solid season as well. I think Quickly's going to have a good season. I don't think we're a good defensive team. Coach. That's all,
I was
folks.
lo-
No,
I
I'm
was
just kidding.
I was looking for it. No. So
Like, comment, and
I'm not.
subscribe.
Yeah. Uh,
Hey man.
it's my favorite card. No, look, I'm not excited for this year. And I say that because anyone who grew up in the 90s and 2000s, outside of Vince and stuff like that, you just saw some really bad teams, quite honestly, at times.
Mm,
And this year, it's going to be tough, in my opinion. Um, we've been spoiled. We were spoiled in the last decade with a lot of winning, a lot of good teams. In the last 4 years, it hasn't been good. But now they've really taken this down to the foundation, in a sense. I see this team being anywhere from 10 to 13, probably in the Eastern Conference. I say 10 if people are healthy. I say 13, assuming that there's going to be some injuries. Well, you got to also take other teams will have injuries as well. So, yeah, I'm just not that excited for the team this year. Ask me in 2025 how excited I'll be.
so we'll talk about outcomes next week more
Yeah.
in depth. But I'll just say they could make the 10th seed and still end up with the eighth best lottery odds or better.
hmm Atlanta did it.
Because if everyone says that the East is going to be so bad at the bottom and the West is so much better than the East, if you don't make it through that gauntlet of the play-in, because if you lose one game in the play-in, if you're one of the lower two seeds, everyone's saying 10th seed, so I'm going with the best outcome that everyone's saying, then unfortunately you're out, and then you have to root for either an ace or a flag. So
Yeah. I'll just
yeah,
say I'll just say this though. The starters this year offensively, I think they'll be okay. I think you
yeah.
might have three guys average 20 a game. I know Sampson had did a video like this, and I agree for the most part. You might see that. And
I
in
don't think
most
so.
teams, it may not happen, but in most teams, when you think about it though, across the NBA, if you have three guys averaging 20, you better damn well be top six in the playoffs. Problem with us though, you get past the top five, it gets rough. It's the bench. The bench is going to be bad this year, and the defense is going to be bad this year. And that's where, a lot of games will be lost.
I
So, so you said we're gonna get into more in depth as we get closer to the preseason and kind of go through what we think of this team, maybe record wise and stuff like that. I'll just
yeah.
put I'll just put you this way. I'll put it up front, folks, so you know where my position is with this team. I do not think this team is tanking.
Oh,
No,
no,
I
no,
don't
no, no,
either.
no, 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 no.
I'll
None
also
of us
say
think that
this,
they're tanking.
None
right?
of us do.
Just
No,
so
Yeah,
just so anyone who has questions, none of us think that they're tanking.
right,
That
none.
right,
explains a lot, by the way.
exactly. Which is my next point. I actually think they are trying to win. All right. Here's the thing I would suggest to you all, just leave this here. This is all I have to say. All I have to say about this, all these nice things you guys say here. I saw yesterday an article or 2 days ago an article asking who's the fifth starter. And here's the question. Well, it could either be Grady Dick, or in this case, it could be Ochai. I'll leave that. That's all I got to say.
Didn't expect that last name. I mean, you got a point. What if they made Ochai? Because what if they made Ochai the starter?
That's all I got to say. All I know is I'll be grinning from ear to ear if they made Ochai the starter.
Hey, they started Dennis last year when Scotty should have been starting point guard and Gary should have been the starting two. It will not shock me in the least.
Yeah, but and that at least had some sort of level of it made sense. This, even though it shocked people, this would be malpractice for some. Depending on their perspective, we'll say.
How about that summer league?
How about that contract, man? That is not known. I'll leave it at like, comment, and subscribe, people.
Serious discussion we must have in this case here, Ochai must have a good chance in this case to be the fifth starter. We must give him.
That's true. We have to see what he has. It is a year of evaluation.
Yes.
And
yes. There's what we need to talk about. Yes.
And honestly, if you listen to the quote unquote the national media, a lot of people have penciled Ochai into the starting.
Good.
Or not into the starting, but into minutes.
Good.
Like serious minutes. I think I saw someone that put 15, 20 minutes the other day.
Right. The better it is, man. I love it.
More power to him. Ochai redemption. I'm for it. With that being said, it's been fun, folks. We're rooting for Ochai to do his best on the court. I'm here having fun. These guys are hopefully having fun as well.
Oh, we're having fun. I get to wave flags and put up cards.
Patriotic.
I am this year.
Yes.
I'm gonna play a lot of cards this year, I think.
True, very true. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this this show. If you don't, you could comment. You don't have to subscribe. But we'd like it if you do to join along. And it's going to be a fun season. We're going to get more into depth with the Raptors specifically next week, actually, and kind of go in depth in terms of maybe the three outcomes that we see, maybe a good, bad, and ugly. We're not going to be doing that throughout the season this year, but we'll start off the season or preseason with a good, bad, and ugly just to start things off. Take care, folks. Have fun and peace.
I got you, brother.
Yes.